Hi and welcome back. In this video, I'll demonstrate how to reorder objects in Hatch such that they sew out sequentially and the start and end points line up to minimize trims. Let's go ahead and get started. First, I'll create some objects. So I'm going to create some filled objects. Now this particular procedure may not work with pure single run outlines because they always start and end at the same point. So if you're using a single run outline, then you may have to manually digitize your items such that your start and end points are not in the same spot. So you'll notice here that I would want my items, let's say, to stitch out from left to right. But the sequence isn't in that order. First, as shown here, this item would stitch first, this item would stitch second because it's second in the sequence menu, and this item would stitch third. Not only that, but you can see that I have a start point here and a stop point here, which may be okay for the first item. And I'm clicking O on the keyboard and then H. So O selects the object and H allows you to edit the object. Alright, and so you can see that we would start here and end here, so that's going to create a trim. If you go into True View by clicking T, you'll see that we're going to have a trim there, okay? And then the third object, we start here and we end here. So what we would want, ideally, if these objects are all the same color, is that we would transition from left to right without actually having any trims, because the machine could stitch each one out sequentially and our start and stop points could line up in that way. But in order to do that, we would need these objects to be ordered correctly. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold the control. I'm first going to click O, so I'm selecting objects. Then I'm going to hold my control key down and click each object in the order in which I would like them to sew. So this will be 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to click this 1, 2, 3 button right here. Okay, and you can see it's kind of locked up there. Alright, 1, 2, 3 button, and you can see that they reordered in the sequence in which I would like them to show. In addition to that, you can see, let's go ahead and click True View. If I select each object, you can see that they've reordered themselves such that the start and end points line up in a way. I'm clicking O and then H to allow the objects to be sewn without having a trim, because these are touching objects, and if they're touching, we could, and all the same color, we could sew them without having a trim. Now the problem is, if I want these to simply be single run outlines, then that kind of creates a problem, because the single run outlines will actually sew you know, they're going to start and end at the same spot. So if you're using a single run outline, you would need to, you wouldn't be able to avoid the trims unless you, well, maybe for this last one here, like you can put your start and stop point over. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. You can put your start and stop point over here. But what you would have to do if you wanted to do that to avoid the trims would be to manually digitize each object, and then you would have to cover some of your areas more than once so that you could have a separate start and stop point. I hope that makes sense. So you could start here, you could digitize all around your outline perhaps, and then come back and end at the next object. Then, beginning here, you're going to digitize your next object and then come back and end at the next object, and then the same thing for the third. So you would have to manually digitize if you wanted